Hello. All right. So today we're going to do multiplication with the stamp game, and we're going to do static multiplication, which means we're not going to regroup. So there will be no regrouping. Let me share my screen. Okay. Oh, sorry, forgot to clear this from the last. Yeah. Let me just put these at 0. Okay. So you can use your stamp game at home that came with your kit if you like, or you can, of course, use the virtual stamp game like I am using. I'm going to use the virtual stamp game to show you. So we know that multiplication is repeated addition. Um, we talked this year about groups of like 2 groups of 3, 4 groups of 5, things like that. Well, instead of doing 4 groups of 5, we could do 4 groups of 22. So let's put that here. So I want 4 groups of 22. And I can use my stamp game. So I have 22. There's 1 group of 22. Here's 2 groups of 22. 3 groups of 22. And 4 groups of 22. So essentially, we're taking these 4 groups of 22 and we're adding them together. So we always start with our units. When we add, when we subtract, when we multiply, we start with our units. Division, it's different, and we'll talk about that when we get to division. But just like we add our units first and regroup and all that, we're going to do the same thing when we multiply, because multiplication is just repeated addition. We're just having more add-ins. So we essentially, if we want to forget about the tens for a minute, we have 4 groups of 2 units, which means we have 2, 4, 6, 8. And then we have 4 groups of 20, which would be 20, 40, 60, 80. So our answer, 22 times 4, is 88. Easy peasy, right? Lemon squeezy. Well, let's say, I'm going to put these back at 0, so I can't really. Let's do 32 times 3. So I'm going to have 3 groups of 32. 32. 1 group of 32. Here's 2 groups of 32. And 3 groups of 32. So we start off by, we always start with our units. We have 3 groups of 2 units, 2, 4, 6. 2 times 3 is 6. And then we have 3 groups of 30. So we have 30, 60, 90. So 32 times 3 is 96. All right. Let's do a number. I'm going to have 0 tens. All right. Back at 0. So we have 204 times 2. So 2 groups of 204. So 204. I don't have any 10s. And 204. Now, when we multiply a number by 2, it's essentially the double of that number. We're adding 204 plus 204. If we want to practice our multiplication, say, well, 2 groups of 4, 4 times 2 is 8. Now we need to multiply our 10s. We have 2 groups of 0. Well, guess what? Multiply anything by 0. I could have a million groups of 0, and it's still I'm gonna end up with 0. So we still have 0 10s, and then we have 2 groups of 200s, which gives us 400. So there's our answer. 204 times 2 equals 408. All right. So you'll have some static multiplication problems where you're not going to be regrouping. You can use the stamp game to practice, or if you're like, I don't need the stamp game. I know I can skip count or whatever, then that's fine. But there is your static multiplication with stamp game. Enjoy.